Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine being a real estate agent. I mean, you're not just selling houses, are you? You're navigating one of the biggest, maybe the most emotional financial moments in someone's life.
Absolutely. It's huge.
Yeah, and from that very first, sometimes hesitant phone call right through to shaking hands on closing day, every single conversation, every little interaction, it all shapes the outcome.
It really does.
That's exactly what our sources for this deep dive promise to deliver. Basically a masterclass in guiding sellers, and it's straight from a seasoned pro. Today, we're diving deep into the practical, actionable strategies taught by realtor, trainer, and EXP Realty sponsor, Josh Barnett, specifically from his popular YouTube training series, Conversations with Sellers.
And what's really fascinating here, I think, is how these training videos go way beyond just giving you scripts to read. Barnett provides this comprehensive step-by-step approach. He really dives into the psychology behind managing seller expectations, and expertly navigating those really complex situations that, let's face it, always seem to pop up in real estate.
Always, yeah.
So we're not just talking about simple transactional tips here. We're talking about tangible takeaways, things you can actually use, whether you're looking to refine your communication, streamline your process management, or, ultimately build a business that's founded on trust and getting those repeat clients.
That's precisely what we're going to do. We're taking you on that journey through the entire seller process, all guided by Barnett's insights. We'll start with that first super crucial contact.
Yeah, the first call.
Then move through the critical valuations, preparing the home for the market. Then we'll tackle managing showings and offers, which can get wild.
Yeah.
And finally, navigate those often tricky waters of inspections, repairs, and getting to that smooth closing.
Right.
And we won't stop there. We'll also explore the unique brokerage model that Barnett consistently highlights. He sees it as a cornerstone of an agent's success ecosystem.
Right.
This model, he believes, really empowers agents to implement these strategies and build a thriving business. So whether you're a seasoned agent, maybe looking to sharpen your edge, elevate your client experience, or you're just curious about what truly goes into selling a home effectively professionally, well, this deep dive is definitely for you. Okay, let's kick things off with that absolutely pivotal moment, the initial contact with a potential seller. Barnett really emphasizes, doesn't he, that this isn't just a fact-finding mission.
Not at all.
It's more about understanding the seller's personality, their deeper motivations, and really starting to build that foundation of trust. He even talks about how the seller's initial gambit of information, that first thing they say, unprompted.
Yeah, that first outpouring.
Right? How that reveals so much about who you're talking to and how they like to communicate. So what are some of those key initial questions he suggests agents ask?
Well, it's all about strategic inquiry, isn't it? Barnett outlines 7 key initiating questions for this first call. And the why behind these questions is just so crucial. Often when a seller calls, they'll immediately launch into like a detailed description of their home, all its features, its history, maybe even a few complaints. Right?
Oh, definitely.
Your immediate role as the agent is to be a really keen listener, take diligent notes, and then most importantly, clarify. If they say something that needs more detail, you just ask, can you tell me a little more about that? Or maybe, could you expand on that point a bit more?
Simple enough.
Yeah, the goal isn't to be long-winded or, ask redundant questions. It's to truly uncover their primary why for moving. Is it a job relocation, military orders, maybe they just need a bigger or smaller house? Or perhaps it's something more complex, like a difficult family situation or wanting to be closer to aging parents. You need that why.
And he really hammers home the power of truly listening, doesn't he? I remember him saying, kind of bluntly, shut up and listen. What's the deeper psychological insight there? It's got to be more than just gathering facts.
Exactly. Barnett isn't just talking about passive listening, where you just sit there. The real insight here is active listening. You're not just absorbing facts, you're truly hearing their underlying needs, maybe their fears, their unspoken goals, even their emotional state. And this level of empathetic engagement, it builds profound trust because the seller feels genuinely understood, right? Not just processed like another transaction number.
Makes sense.
It allows you to anticipate objections and sometimes even identify those unspoken deal killers long before they actually blow up. For instance, if they mention a job relocation, but they sound kind of hesitant, you might gently probe, are you excited about the move? Or are there any concerns you have about leaving? Just getting that little bit of insight helps you manage future conversations so much better. And if the seller gives a really straightforward answer, like, I got orders, I need to be in Texas by next month, well, you don't need to over-interrogate them on that point.
Yeah.
Just clarify the timeline. Okay, so when do you need to be physically in Texas?
Yeah.
But if it's more nuanced, say, they're downsizing after the kids left, but they've lived in that home for 30 years,
Hmm.
that's different.
Oh, yeah, that's emotional.
Totally. Then you might need to acknowledge that emotional weight. Something simple like, wow, that must be quite a big decision. Moving from a home with so many memories can open up a deeper connection. The key is to be the professional they reached out to. They've already given you a level of trust to handle their most expensive asset.
Sure.
So seek clarification where you need it, but don't, beat them up over things that are already clear or try to solve their emotional problems. Just acknowledge them. Be that professional guide.
Okay, so you've clarified their why, you understand their timeline. Now you're stepping into that crucial and, let's be honest, often sensitive realm of pricing. Barnett really stresses managing seller expectations here. What's the most common misconception sellers have about their home's value? And how does Barnett equip agents to handle that delicate conversation without alienating them right off the bat?
That's a great question because, yeah, it's often the biggest hurdle you face early on. The most common misconception, I'd say, is that their home's value is based on what they need to get out of it financially, or maybe what they put into it with renovations over the years.
Right, the new kitchen they love?
Exactly, rather than what the current market comparables, the actual data, truly support. So after that initial call, you're preparing and emailing the market valuation report. Barnett advises an immediate follow-up call, basically as soon as that report hits their inbox.
Okay, immediate follow-up.
Yeah, and the core strategy here isn't just to present one single number, it's to present a range. For instance, he suggests something like $400,000 to $425,000. And this range strategically reflects different levels of home preparation.
Ah, okay, so it's tied to condition.
Precisely. The high end might be for a brand new fixed-up condition, the middle ground for a well-maintained home, and the lower end for an as-is sale. This approach subtly anchors their expectations to reality while still giving them some agency in the process, It shows them how their effort impacts the price.
Providing that range certainly makes logical sense, gives sellers options. But I can just imagine some sellers might still fixate on that high end, right?
Yeah.
Believing their home is the Corvette, like Barnett says, no matter its actual condition.
Oh, absolutely.
So what specific language or strategies does Barnett recommend to gently bring them back to reality if their expectations are still way out of sync with the market?
This is where the agent's skill, their communication skill, truly shines. The absolute key focus, according to Barnett, is the net to seller. You have to pivot the conversation away from the gross listing price, which is often just an emotional number for them, to what truly matters, their net, their walkaway money, plus how quickly the home will sell and how easy the whole process will be. He emphasizes that sellers don't ultimately care about how many houses you've sold. They care about their money and their convenience.
Right, what's in it for them?
Exactly. So you need to know their current mortgage payoff amount. And Barnett even advises adding an extra month's interest as a buffer just to be safe. This ensures the seller has a realistic walkaway figure and prevents those nasty surprises at closing.
That's smart. Buffer room.
Yeah, and you also need to ask upfront if they had any down payment assistance or deferred payments, because those things can significantly impact the net proceeds too.
Yeah.
You might forget about those.
Good point.
So if there's still a discrepancy, if they're pushing back on price rather than arguing, Barnett suggests a really calm, professional approach. First, go through the comparable property info sheets together, point to specific similar sales, show them the data. If they're still resistant, he advises directly asking, okay, how much were you thinking about getting out of the sale? This gets them to actually say their inflated expectation out loud.
Puts it on the table.
Exactly. Then you can address it directly and professionally. Maybe say something like, I understand that's what you were hoping for, and honestly, I wish the market supported that number right now. Let's look again at why these comparable sales suggest a different range. The ultimate goal of this pricing conversation, once you reach agreement or at least handle the objections, is to always set the next appointment. Scheduling the photo shoot. You're constantly moving the process forward one logical step at a time. Keep the momentum going.
And that leads us perfectly into preparing the home for market, which Barnett frames beautifully, I think, as preparing a product for the consumer.
Yeah, it shifts the mindset.
It does. It's no longer just their beloved home. It's a product that needs to be sold. He uses that really memorable analogy of making it the Corvette. Among other properties, something buyers will immediately recognize as top tier. Right.
Precisely. And when you're talking about decluttering and cleaning, you emphasize that buyers are always looking for the most bang for their buck. A cleaner, less cluttered home will almost always beat out a comparable property that isn't spick and span. It just feels better.
Makes sense.
The practical advice is pretty straightforward. If you haven't touched an item in 30 days, box it up, put it in storage. This isn't just about making the house look cleaner, though. It strategically and visually expands the perceived space and storage.
Ah, the perception of space.
Huge psychological plus for buyers. When a buyer walks into a cluttered home, their brain immediately thinks, ugh, this house doesn't have enough storage for my stuff, even if technically it does. So half of those cabinets and closets, box them up, put them neatly in the garage, or even better, a storage unit.
Okay, that sounds like a conversation that could be a little, shall we say, delicate, maybe awkward.
Definitely.
Many people have deep emotional attachments to their belongings, their home, just as it is. How does Barnett advise agents to approach these hard conversations effectively?
It absolutely can be awkward, and this is where understanding the psychology of the seller, as Barnett puts it, truly comes into play. He insists on having these hard conversations about the home's readiness with, utmost professionalism, but also with firmness.
Fair but fair.
Exactly. If, after they've agreed to declutter and clean, the house just isn't prepared for the photo shoot, you must be prepared to reschedule. He's very clear on this.
What?
Sometimes losing a listing because a seller won't follow through on preparing the home is actually a good outcome.
Really? Why is that?
Because that likely would have been a difficult, probably protracted, and ultimately unrewarding deal to work anyway. Remember, you as the agent, you don't get paid until it closes. So you want the quickest, smoothest path for both you and the seller. It's about setting boundaries, protecting your time, protecting your reputation. You might have to say something like, look, I know this is hard and it's your home, I get it. But to get you the best possible price, it has to shine. Let's get it ready, right? Or honestly, we'll just be chasing buyers away.
Okay, direct but necessary. So once it's finally cleaned and decluttered for the photo shoot, how do you help them maintain that show-ready condition? Especially for busy sellers who might only have like an hour or two before a showing pops up.
Yeah, that's key. You provide them with a very clear, prioritized cleaning order for those quick pre-showing tidy-ups, like a checklist.
Okay, what's the order?
First, bathrooms, always bathrooms, then the kitchen, then the primary bedroom, then living rooms, and finally, guest beds.
Huh.
And a crucial, often humorous, but very memorable reminder.
Oh.
Clean up dog torpedoes in the backyard.
Laughs. Dog torpedoes.
You literally tell them, don't leave pet waste out there because someone will step in it. That mental image sticks. You also use that photo shoot visit to pin down their preferred showing times and block off any sensitive periods, maybe religious observances or nap times for little kids or elderly residents.
Practicalities.
Exactly. This isn't just a courtesy. It sets clear expectations for everyone involved, the seller, the buyer's agent, the buyers themselves, and it contributes significantly to a smoother transaction down the line. It's all about anticipating those little friction points and proactively resolving them before they become problems.
So the house is sparkling, photos look amazing, and now it's go time. The property goes live on the MLS. What's the agent's immediate role once that switch is flipped? It sounds like it's all about proactive communication even before the first showing request actually comes in.
It truly is. The absolute moment that property goes live on the multiple listing service, the agent needs to immediately notify the seller. You're not just, flipping a switch and hoping for the best.
Right.
You're confirming the activation of the marketing campaign you discussed. You confirm the showing scheduler details again. Do they prefer text, email, or phone call for showing notifications? You let them know the system is active and requests could start rolling in anytime.
Ah, so no surprises.
Exactly. It prevents any jarring surprises when those first showing requests do start arriving, and it just makes the seller feel connected and informed part of the process.
Okay, and beyond just that initial notification, how do you manage those ongoing showing expectations?
Right.
Let's be real. It's not always easy for sellers to keep their home looking like a magazine spread and, disappear at a moment's notice.
It's definitely a delicate balance, and constant communication is the absolute key. You reconfirm those pre-agreed blocked out times, reminding them about the baby's nap schedule or Sabbath observances, whatever it is. And you absolutely must re-emphasize those critical last-minute cleaning steps. Bathrooms, kitchen, and yes, one more time, those dog torpedoes in the backyard.
Chuckles.
Can't forget those. You can't. And Barnett really drives home the absolute non-negotiable rule. Sellers must be absent during showings,
Yeah.
period.
Really? That's strict.
That's strict. They should ideally leave at least 15 minutes before the scheduled showing time and not come back until at least 15 minutes after it's supposed to end.
Why is that so critical?
It ensures buyers feel completely comfortable exploring the home. They need to feel free to open closets, look in cabinets, even discuss their thoughts openly with their agent without feeling like they're intruding or being watched by the owner.
Yeah, that makes sense. It would be awkward.
Totally awkward. When sellers are present, buyers tend to rush. They don't feel comfortable. They don't linger. They often leave without getting a true feel for the house, which can drastically reduce the chances of them making an offer. It's an inconvenience for the seller, no doubt,
Yeah.
but it's absolutely vital for getting that optimal offer.
Okay, this sounds like a lot of groundwork, setting very clear boundaries and expectations up front. But I imagine it definitely pays off when the offers start rolling in. That's the exciting part, right?
Yeah.
But also where things can get incredibly complex, especially if you get multiple offers. What different strategies does Barnett suggest for handling those scenarios?
Indeed. This is where the agent really shifts gears from being a guide to being a skilled negotiator. Barnett outlines three main approaches for handling multiple offers, and each one has its own sort of nuances and risks.
Okay, what's the first one?
The first is the most straightforward. Accept the best. You simply review all the offers, and you take the highest and most favorable one based on price, terms, closing date, buyer qualifications, everything. This is often the path of least resistance, especially if one offer is clearly superior to the others. Pretty simple.
Okay, simple enough. What's the second strategy?
The second strategy is where you notify all offerees, the MLS, and potentially any agents who previously showed the property that you have multiple offers. Then you set a firm deadline for everyone to submit their highest and best offer.
Oh, the classic highest and best.
Exactly. This casts a wide net, makes sure everyone interested gets a fair shot to put their strongest offer forward. But, crucially, Barnett emphasizes that the seller must read the National Association of Realtors Multiple Offer Guide if you pursue this strategy.
Why is it so important?
Because there's a very real risk, and you need the seller to understand this, that if buyers feel they're being pushed too hard, or maybe that the process isn't totally transparent, all the people who made offers might just walk away.
Oh, wow. They could all bail.
They could. Rather than re-engage in what feels like a bidding war, they might not win. So you, as the agent, absolutely do not want the finger pointed at you if that happens. It's about getting all the decision makers, especially the seller, completely on the same page about the potential risks and rewards. It's a high-stakes move that needs full client understanding and buy-in.
Okay, definitely need to manage that carefully. And the third option for multiple offers, this one sounds like it could be quite hands-on for the agent.
It is. The third approach is selective negotiation. This involves individually contacting each agent who submitted an offer, disclosing what the best offer currently on the table is, without necessarily revealing who made it, and simply asking them if their buyer wants to beat it.
Ah, okay, direct comparison.
Yeah, it can be highly effective for pushing offers higher, but it requires really careful, clear, direct communication. For example, you might call agent A and say, look, we have an offer at X dollars with Y terms. Does your buyer want to submit a stronger offer? Then you hang up and repeat that process with agent B, and so on.
Okay.
Barnett also strongly recommends using something like a Google Sheet to organize all the offers if you have several. This visual aid makes it incredibly easy for sellers to compare all the different terms side by side. Price, financing type, closing date, contingencies, closing costs. It allows for a really clear apples-to-apples comparison, making their decision much easier.
That spreadsheet idea is smart. Okay, so that covers multiple offers. What about when you just receive a single offer? How does Barnett suggest agents present that to the seller to make sure they're focusing on the right things and not getting overwhelmed?
Right, because even a single offer needs careful presentation. When presenting just one offer, Barnett's primary focus is, you guessed it,
The net to seller.
the net to seller. Always, always start with that figure. You pull up the net sheet you prepared and you say, okay, here's the estimated net to you. After all closing costs and commissions are accounted for, is this amount acceptable? Does this amount of money get you where you need to be to make your next move?
And then shut up and listen.
And then you follow his shut up and listen advice again. Let them react. The seller's emotional and financial response to that net number is paramount. If they accept the net amount, then and only then do you dive into the other important terms of the offer. Trying to explain the entire contract before they've even agreed on the bottom line number is often just overwhelming and, frankly, unproductive. Get the money right first.
Okay, that makes sense. Focus on the core issue first. So what kind of other terms are you looking at after the net is agreed upon, once you move past that critical walkaway money figure?
Right. Once the net is confirmed as acceptable, then you'd meticulously review the other crucial terms. This includes things like the loan type. Is it a conventional loan with 20% down, which is usually seen as strong,
Hmm.
or maybe an FHA or VA loan, which might come with different appraisal requirements or standards?
Mm-hmm.
You discuss the down payment amount, who's paying which closing costs, is the buyer asking for seller concessions, the proposed inspection period, is it a standard 10 days or shorter longer, and of course the proposed closing date, does it align with the seller's timeline?
Okay.
Barnett also advises guiding sellers on choosing a good title company. He notes that based on his experience, some are significantly smoother to work with than others, some are faster, some communicate better. It's your job as the agent to share your experience and help them make an informed decision, because a difficult or inefficient title company can definitely complicate things, cause unnecessary stress, and even potentially delay the closing.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. An offer is accepted. You're officially under contract. It's usually a huge sigh of relief, right?
For a moment, yeah.
But as Barnett explains, it's really just the beginning of a whole new level of agent responsibility. This period between contract and closing, this is where proactive communication can literally make or break the entire deal, isn't it? Barnett talks about how you can almost never over-prep a seller for this phase.
Absolutely, you nailed it. The period between contract acceptance and closing is often, let's say, fraught with potential pitfalls. And the level of detail in your pre-closing preparation directly impacts your closing ratios and, importantly, your future referrals. Happy sellers refer. So the first crucial step right after acceptance is ensuring that earnest money deposit gets turned in promptly by the buyer side. And then you immediately notify the seller that it has been received and is secured with the title company or escrow. That's peace of mind.
Okay, earnest money secured. What next?
Following this, you send a really comprehensive email outlining all the next steps. This email should be incredibly detailed, almost like a mini roadmap for what's coming over the next few weeks.
What kind of details are we talking about in this email? It sounds like you're basically trying to anticipate every single possible question they might have.
You pretty much are. You'd include the earnest money deadline, confirming it was met, the inspection completion deadline, and a very clear, maybe even bolded instruction. Do not turn off utilities for inspections.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Huge. Inspectors need water, power, often heat or AC, to properly assess everything. You'd also inform them that the appraiser will call them to schedule their visit, so they know to expect that call, and that surveyors might visit the property, maybe unannounced, stressing, please don't chase them off. They're just doing their job for the title company or lender.
Chuckles. Right, don't assume they're trespassed.
Exactly. And a really powerful value add, Barnett suggests, is to create a short, personalized video explaining this entire process, the timeline, the key players, what to expect, and embed it or link it in that email.
Oh, interesting, like a little video walkthrough of the process.
Yeah, it caters to different learning styles. Some people prefer to read, others prefer to watch and listen. It just makes the seller feel even more informed, more cared for, and it really boosts their confidence in your guidance, reduces their anxiety.
Okay, so it's all about setting crystal clear expectations for every single visit, every deadline.
That's the core of it. You also proactively introduce the seller to the title company, closer, and processor via email, providing them with all the necessary contact information they might need for things like mortgage payoff statements, finding old surveys, or any other documentation required to clear the title.
Smoothing those communication channels early.
Right, reduces friction later. And just like during showings, you reiterate that sellers should not be present during the inspection, the appraisal, or any survey visits. Having the seller hovering can make the professionals uncomfortable and, frankly, could potentially interfere with their objective assessment.
Makes sense.
This whole meticulous level of preparation ensures the seller feels completely informed, they understand the process, they're significantly less likely to be surprised or accidentally cause delays. And ultimately, as Barnett points out, this increases your closing ratio and leads to more referrals because they'll tell everyone how smooth and professional you made everything.
Okay, so what does this all mean for those inevitable moments when things don't go exactly as planned? Because let's face it, real estate transactions rarely go perfectly smoothly from contract to close. You get issues like repair requests after the inspection, maybe appraisal conditions, or even those dreaded clouds on title popping up. How does Barnett advise agents to navigate these challenges and keep the deal actually on track.
Yeah, this is where you really earn your stripes as an agent, right? Handling the bumps. Barnett advises approaching these issues with, again, professionalism and logic. You're constantly working to keep the seller grounded and focus on the end goal, closing the deal.
Okay, so starting with repair requests, the TR.
Right, the repair requests, often called TRRs depending on your state forms, the advice here is basically be reasonable. Focus the negotiation on material defects, things that genuinely detract from the value or safety of the property and could affect financing or the buyer's long-term satisfaction. We're talking heating, electrical, plumbing, roof issues, foundation problems.
The big stuff.
The big stuff. He gives an example. If the buyer is asking for a sticky door latch to be adjusted and a broken dishwasher to be replaced, well, you must address the dishwasher. That's a material defect impacting functionality and value.
Okay.
But the door latch, that might be something you gently push back on as minor maintenance. The agent's role here is crucial. Keep the seller logical, not emotional. Explain the difference. If a buyer is being truly unreasonable, maybe asking for cosmetic things, sometimes it's better to consider moving on to a backup offer if you have one, or strategically negotiate a credit towards closing costs instead of actually doing the repair. Barnett reminds agents that a successful closing often requires both parties to give a little. Compromise is key.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about those tricky appraisal conditions? They can feel like such a curveball right when you think you're nearing the finish line.
Yeah, appraisal conditions can certainly throw a wrench in the works. Barnett explains that the appraiser isn't trying to kill the deal. They essentially work for the government, ensuring the property meets Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac criteria for the buyer's loan. These are usually objective requirements, often related to safety or soundness.
Okay.
If the conditions are easy fixes, maybe some peeling paint that's considered a health hazard for FHA loans, advise the seller to just fix them promptly. Get it done. If it's a major item like an appraiser flags the roof as needing repair or replacement.
Yeah.
Barnett suggests getting 2 independent roofer opinions or quotes and presenting those to the lender. It shows you're proactively seeking solutions. But the reality is, 9 times out of 10, these lender-required conditions must be addressed for the loan to go through. The agent needs to be upfront and clear with the seller about that. While technically a buyer could fix those items after closing, it's typically the seller's responsibility if they want this deal with this financing to close. Otherwise, the buyer might just walk away.
Right. It becomes a condition of the loan itself. And what if there's a problem with the title? Like an old lien that nobody even knew about? That sounds like a potential nightmare.
Clouds on title are another common headache. Things like an old credit card judgment lien from decades ago that suddenly resurfaces, or maybe an unreleased mortgage from a previous owner that wasn't cleared properly. For small liens, say under $500, Barnett advises the seller to simply pay it immediately. Just get it cleared off the title report.
Don't fight it, just pay it.
Exactly, because the title report must be cleared to provide marketable title, otherwise the bank won't fund the loan. It's non-negotiable. Now, crucially, if the closer or the processor at the title company is maybe giving you pushback or seems unclear about how to resolve something,
Yeah.
Barnett's advice here is invaluable. Bypass them. Contact the actual attorney who reviewed the title report directly. Ideally, do this on a conference call with the seller on the line.
Go straight to the source.
Straight to the source. This gets the clarification directly from the legal expert, which makes your job as the agent much easier because the seller hears the definitive answer from the authority. This often cuts through days, sometimes weeks, of back-and-forth emails and prevents costly miscommunications.
That's a great tip. Okay, so once repairs or appraisal conditions are agreed upon and supposedly dealt with, when should that final repair walkthrough happen? I can definitely imagine waiting too long could create some serious last-minute drama.
You're exactly right. Barnett stresses that the repair walkthrough by the buyer or their inspector should be scheduled as soon as the repairs are actually completed. Do not wait until 3 or 4 days before closing.
Why not?
Waiting too long creates huge risks. You risk finding out right before closing that the buyer's inspector's idea of done doesn't quite match the seller's contractor's idea of done, or maybe a repair was done incorrectly. This can lead to last-minute arguments, demands for credits, impasses that could delay closing or even derail the entire deal right at the finish line.
Avoid the 11th hour panic.
Totally. Getting that walkthrough done early allows ample time to resolve any discrepancies without panic or pressure. All these conversations, whether about repairs, appraisals, or title issues, they're all about guiding the seller through difficult but necessary decisions with professionalism, keeping the focus on successfully closing the transaction. It's all about being proactive, not reactive. anticipate the problems.
We're in the final stretch now, the closing conversations. This feels like it's all about ensuring that smooth final impression and transition for both the buyer and the seller. After all that hard work, you really want to stick the landing right.
Absolutely. You want everyone walking away feeling good. There are a few absolutely crucial instructions for sellers during this final phase. First, and this is a big one that agents sometimes forget to really emphasize, do not shut off the utilities until the transaction is officially closed, funded, and the seller literally has the check or wire confirmation in hand.
Okay, why is that timing so specific?
Barnett emphasizes this because if closing gets delayed even by a single day, which happens, the seller doesn't want to be stuck potentially having to live in a house without power, heat, or water for an unexpected night. That's miserable. Plus, many contracts legally obligate sellers to keep utilities on through the closing date itself. It also just ensures the final walkthrough is comfortable for the buyers. They can test lights, run water, check the AC.
Okay, that makes perfect sense for both comfort and, contractual obligations. What about the state of the home itself for that final walkthrough? How clean does it need to be?
The standard is generally broom clean. This means all the seller's personal property and furniture is out, counters are wiped down or dusted, floors are vacuumed or swept, basically debris-free. You don't want the buyer showing up to a dirty house for their final walkthrough and suddenly experiencing buyer's remorse.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Or worse, trying to demand a cleaning fee right there at the closing table. A clean home signals respect and just ensures a positive final impression. Also, a small but really impactful detail Barnett mentions, leave all keys and clickers, for garages, gates, community pools, whatever, neatly on the kitchen countertop, except, obviously, for the one key the seller takes to the closing itself.
Why on the counter?
He describes it as being like a little present for the buyer when they walk in after closing. It creates an immediate positive feeling, it's convenient, and it avoids any post-closing headaches where the buyer calls frantically saying keys are missing. It's just the thoughtful touch that contributes to a really smooth handover.
That's a nice touch. What of the actual closing day itself? Any specific etiquette tips for the seller when they might meet the buyers or when they're signing all those documents? I mean, it's the moment all the emotions of selling probably come to a head.
Yes, definitely prep them for this. Very important. First, prep the seller that the buyers typically sign all their loan documents and paperwork first. Then the sellers sign their closing documents. That's just the standard procedure in most places.
Okay.
During any interactions they might have with the buyers at the closing table, sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't advise the sellers to offer only positive pleasantries about the neighborhood or the neighbors. Things like, oh, the neighbor across the street makes the absolute best sourdough bread, or the family to the north is just so friendly, you'll really love it here. Keep it light and positive.
And what should they absolutely avoid saying?
You must strictly tell them to avoid any negative comments whatsoever. No saying things like, man, I'm so glad to be moving. The neighbor behind me plays music way too loud, or just wait till you have to deal with the HOA here. They're a nightmare.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Don't plant seeds of doubt.
Exactly. Such comments can easily trigger buyer's remorse, causing them to have second thoughts after they've signed everything. You absolutely want to prevent that. A smooth closing also means a happy buyer walking away excited, not suddenly worried.
Okay, so managing emotions and ensuring professionalism right up to the very last signature is absolutely key. What about the actual paperwork they'll be signing? Can you demystify that a bit for them beforehand?
Yeah, definitely. Inform the seller generally about the main documents they'll be signing. These usually include things like releases or affidavits confirming they haven't taken out any weird mortgages or liens they didn't disclose. The big one is the deed, which is the document that actually transfers ownership of the property. And of course, the final settlement statement or HUD-1 closing disclosure, which details all the numbers, the sale price, credits, debits, closing costs, their final net proceeds, all the numbers you would have carefully reviewed with them beforehand.
Right, so no surprises on the numbers page.
Exactly. The more information they have up front and the clearer you explain the purpose of these documents, the quicker and easier they'll make decisions during the actual signing process. They're prepared, they know what's coming, so they're not sitting there asking you to explain every single line item while the closer waits. It speeds things up.
Makes sense.
Finally, Barnett highlights the importance of one last little detail. Last-minute yard care, especially maybe in wetter seasons where grass grows fast, if the seller has already packed up their lawnmower and moved out.
Yeah.
He even suggests the listing agent should strongly consider paying a local company a small fee, maybe $50 or $100, for a one-time final mow right before closing.
Really? The agent pays?
He frames it as money well spent. It ensures the property looks great for the buyer's final drive up, makes the buyer happy, avoids any last-minute complaints about overgrown grass, and it also helps build goodwill and rapport with the buyer's agent. You never know. That happy buyer might need an agent someday, or that buyer's agent might send you a referral down the road because you were professional and easy to work with. It's all about creating the absolute best possible final experience for everyone involved, leaving no loose ends or reasons for anyone to feel unhappy. Stick the landing.
What's really fascinating here, I think, is how Barnett emphasizes that the agent's job doesn't just abruptly end when the papers are signed and the money's wired. He really stresses that building long-term relationships is absolutely key to having sustained success in real estate. It seems to be all about nurturing those connections beyond just the single transaction, transforming a client into like a long-term advocate for your business.
That's absolutely right. It's about playing the long game. Barnett lays out a very specific and frankly quite caring post-closing follow-up schedule that's designed specifically to cement that relationship. It starts immediately.
Okay, how so?
The day of closing, you make a quick, genuine phone call to the seller just to confirm they received their wire transfer or check. This simple act takes maybe 60 seconds, but it shows real, genuine care and ultimate professionalism. They know you're on top of things, right down to the very last detail.
Okay, day of closing check-in. What's next?
Then, the next week, you follow up again. This time, maybe check if they've handled essential moving-related tasks like submitting their change of address with the post office, canceling insurance on the old home, updating their driver's license. You're still providing value, being helpful.
Okay, still being useful. And it doesn't stop there, does it? This sounds like it's building toward a really strategic long-term play.
Not at all. 30 days later, you check in again. Maybe ask if any lingering questions popped up from the closing process or just see how they're settling into their new place. For the entire first year after closing, you commit to following up roughly every 90 days. Just a quick check-in call or maybe a relevant email.
Every 90 days for the first year. Wow.
Yeah. And thereafter, after that first year, you dial it back slightly but stay consistent. Follow up twice a year, maybe spring and fall, until they indicate they might be ready to buy or sell again or until they refer someone to you.
What's the goal of all this follow-up? Is it just about asking for referrals constantly?
No, quite the opposite, actually. The goal of this consistent follow-up is to build a truly personal relationship, not just keep a transactional one alive. You ask about their lives, how was their vacation, how's the family doing, how are they enjoying the new neighborhood. You deliberately avoid constantly asking for referrals.
Why avoid asking?
Because, as Barnett notes, the referrals will naturally come if you show consistent care, professionalism, and are just a genuinely helpful, supportive presence in their lives over time. They know you're in real estate. Your consistent, non-demanding contact serves as a gentle reminder that you exist and that you are excellent at what you did for them. This makes them far more likely to think of you and refer you when the time naturally comes. This systematic approach builds a really robust sphere of influence that can generate consistent business for years and years.
Okay, if we connect this to the bigger picture now, you'll notice a pretty consistent thread throughout Barnett's training about the brokerage model itself. He frequently talks about EXP Realty, presenting it as this innovative platform that's really designed for agent success. He seemed to suggest it's actually a key part of an agent's ability to implement these very strategies we've been discussing and build a truly thriving, sustainable business. How exactly does this model support an agent's success, particularly when you look at the financial aspects?
Yeah, it's a really fascinating model, and he does integrate it often. EXP Realty is described in the materials as a global community that's designed, powered, and actually owned by its agents and partners. The whole aim is to fundamentally transform the traditional real estate experience.
How so?
Well, the core premise seems to be agent empowerment and the elimination of what they often refer to as old-fashioned bloat. Things like restrictive franchise territories, expensive brick-and-mortar office overhead, and those redundant layers of middle management you see in older models. Their big, ambitious mission is apparently to reach 1 million agents globally, primarily by leveraging a cloud-based, technology-driven structure.
Okay, cloud-based. How does that translate into compensation for the agent? Because that's usually where the rubber meets the road.
Right. And this model translates into what appears to be incredibly transparent and agent-friendly compensation. Unlike many traditional brokerages that might have confusing fee structures or lower commission splits, EXP Realty operates on a straightforward 80-20 commission split. That means the agent keeps 80% of their gross commission right off the top.
Okay, 80/20. That's pretty common.
It is, but here's the ticker. What's truly transformative, according to Barnett and the materials, is that this split has an annual cap. Once an agent pays $16,000 to the company, that's a 20% portion, within their anniversary year,
Yeah.
they then receive 100% commission for every single transaction for the rest of that year.
Whoa, okay. So after hitting the cap, it's 100%.
100% commission minus a small transaction fee. This can radically increase an agent's actual take-home pay once they hit that $16,000 cap level. And instead of traditional desk fees, royalty fees, or franchise fees, agents pay a relatively modest startup cost. I think the source said $149, which includes the first month's $85 brokerage fee, and then a per-transaction broker review fee, $25, and risk management fee, $40, which also caps out annually, $500 for the risk fee. It's really designed, it seems, for agents to keep significantly more of their hard-earned money, especially as their production grows.
Okay, that cap makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
What about these equity opportunities he mentions? Becoming a shareholder in your brokerage sounds pretty unique in the real estate world.
It absolutely is, and it seems to be a huge differentiator for them. Agents at EXP aren't just independent contractors. They have multiple ways to become actual shareholders in the publicly traded parent company, EXP World Holdings. They can earn equity awards, actual stock grants for hitting specific milestones. This really aligns their personal success directly with the company's overall growth.
What kind of milestones trigger stock awards?
For example, the materials state they earn shares just for closing their very first transaction each year. They earn more shares when they hit their annual cap. And interestingly, they also earn shares when an agent they personally attract to join EXP successfully closes their first transaction.
Ah, rewarding attraction too.
Exactly. Plus, there's an agent equity program. This allows agents to choose to take 5% of their gross commission from any transaction and use it to buy company stock directly, but at a 10% discount to the market price. This is presented as a way to help agents build long-term wealth and potentially prepare for retirement, which is a significant challenge for many independent contractors in real estate.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those really top performers, you mentioned the Icon Agent Program. That sounded like a pretty substantial bonus. How does that work?
It does sound substantial. The Icon Agent Program is specifically designed to reward the top producing agents within the company. To qualify, an agent generally needs to meet certain production criteria after they've already hit their $16,000 cap. The source mentions either paying an additional $5,000 in post-cap transaction fees or achieving $500,000 in annual gross commission income, GCI. That's the total commission earned before splits combined with closing at least 10 transactions in that year.
Okay, so high production thresholds and the reward.
If they achieve icon status, they receive the equivalent of their entire $16,000 annual cap back, but awarded in the form of company stock.
Well, so they essentially get their cap back as stock.
Exactly. So effectively, those top agents are earning close to 100% of their commission throughout the year and receiving a significant stock bonus on top of that. It's clearly designed to incentivize high performance and also agent retention at the top level.
That is significant. But the other major financial piece seems to be this revenue share model. That sounds like a potential game changer for agents looking to build income beyond just their own sales. How does that work? It sounds potentially complicated.
It's definitely one of the most talked about and potentially compelling aspects for agents focused on long-term growth and leveraged income. The revenue share model allows agents to build residual monthly income by attracting other productive agents to join the company. It's based on the company sharing a percentage of the revenue generated by the agents you bring into the company and the agents they bring in and so on, down multiple tiers.
Okay, so how does the percentage work?
For agents you personally attract, they call this your Tier 1. You receive 3.5% of the total commission they earn until that amount reaches a maximum of $2,800 per agent per year. Crucially, this revenue share amount comes out of EXP's 20% company dollar share, not out of the 80% commission of the agent you attracted. So it doesn't negatively impact the earnings of the agents joining.
Ah, okay, that's a key distinction. It's company revenue being shared, not agent commission.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And you can potentially earn revenue share across up to 7 tiers of agents in your network. However, your ability to unlock and earn from those deeper tiers, like Tier 3, 4, 5, etc., is contingent on how many productive agents you've personally attracted to your Tier 1. There are specific thresholds for unlocking each tier.
Okay, so it incentivizes both attracting people and helping them become productive. Can you give an example of the potential?
Sure. To give you a sense of the potential scale, Barnett often uses a powerful illustration in his materials. Imagine you personally attract just 5 agents who each hit their annual cap, meaning they each generate enough commission for you to earn the maximum $2,800 from each of them. That's $14,000 from your Tier 1. Now imagine each of those 5 agents then goes out and attracts 5 capping agents of their own. You'd now have 25 agents on your Tier 2. Depending on the specific percentage for Tier 2, which is higher if you've attracted more Tier 1 agents, this kind of structure, based on productive agents attracting other productive agents, can potentially yield, according to the example provided, an annual leveraged income of up to $94,000 or even more. It really highlights the potential for exponential growth and building financial freedom that goes way beyond just selling houses one at a time, which is obviously a major draw for many agents looking for leverage.
Wow, okay. That illustrates the potential clearly.
Yeah.
Beyond the compensation structure, though, what kind of technology and support systems does EXP offer that Barnett highlights as being critical for an agent to actually implement the kind of meticulous client-centric strategies we've been discussing this whole time? Because strategies are great, but you need the tools, right?
Absolutely, you need the infrastructure. And they seem to focus heavily on providing technology and support designed to, again, remove that old-fashioned bloat and really empower agents to work efficiently. For example, every agent apparently gets access to KV Core.
What's KV Core?
It's a pretty robust lead generation and CRM system customer relationship management. Barnett notes that for a non-XP agent, a system like this could easily cost over $5,000 a year.
Wow.
It includes things like personalized IDX websites, that's the Internet Data Exchange, which allows agents to display all MLS listings directly on their own websites. It also has the CRM database, tools for automated email and text message campaigns, and it even notifies you of contact behavior, like when someone revisits your site. This kind of system is absolutely crucial for effectively implementing those long-term follow-up strategies Barnett advocates.
Okay, so the CRM is built in. What else?
Then there's SkySlope. This is described as a paperless, all-in-one transaction management system. It helps agents manage all the documents, deadlines, and compliance aspects of a deal electronically, making that complex contract-to-close process much more organized and manageable. Less paper, less hassle.
And their virtual office environment. And that sounded quite unique when you mentioned it earlier.
It is quite unique. That's EXP World. It's literally a 3D avatar-based virtual cloud office. Agents log in from their computer and can meet, attend live training classes, collaborate on projects, and get support, all from anywhere with an internet connection. It effectively replaces the need for expensive physical branch offices.
So you meet as avatars in a virtual world.
Pretty much. And this virtual world provides 247 access to tools, resources, and live coaching. The materials state there are over 1,000 full-time EXP staff members working inside EXP World, providing real-time support in various departments, tech support, agent services, accounting, etc. And they offer a huge amount of training, over 80 hours of live classes every single week, taught by both experienced professionals and other top-producing agents sharing their best practices. This constant learning environment is obviously key for any agent committed to mastering their craft, like Barnett teaches.
That's a lot of training.
Yeah. They also leverage Workplace by Facebook, which is basically a private, secure version of Facebook specifically for EXP agents and staff. It's used for communication, collaboration, sharing referrals, and building community, using familiar social media features in a work context. And for agents who do still want or need a physical space occasionally, maybe to meet a client or just get out of the house, they provide a Regus Global membership. Regus is a company that provides physical office spaces, so this gives agents access to drop into thousands of professional office locations worldwide, offering flexibility.
That truly sounds like a comprehensive ecosystem for agents. It seems designed to empower them to run their businesses effectively and, frankly, quite differently from many traditional brokerage models. It sounds like it really supports the kind of high-level professionalism and client dedication that Barnett advocates for.
It absolutely seems designed that way. There's also the Back Office Business Intelligence Center, which gives agents autonomy and real-time visibility into their own business metrics, their performance stats, commission tracking, their revenue share earnings, their equity awards, all through intuitive online dashboards. Knowledge is power, right? The Marketing Center provides access to thousands, the source says over 5,000 editable marketing templates and pieces. Plus, it offers automated marketing material creation for new listings, which saves agents a ton of time and effort. They also mention offering a low-cost healthcare alternative, which is huge for independent contractors, and an express offers platform, which connects sellers who need a quick sale with a network of institutional cash buyers. It really does seem to be about providing a whole suite of tools and an environment designed for agents to succeed, build wealth, and manage their business for the long term, making it easier, theoretically, to focus on those crucial client relationships and implement the high-level service Barnett champions. Hashtag outro.
Wow. Okay, so you've just been equipped with, well, basically a roadmap, not just for selling houses, but really for building lasting relationships and cultivating a truly successful, sustainable real estate career. This deep dive into Josh Barnett's conversations with sellers has really shown us the incredible depth of knowledge and, frankly, the skill that's required.
Yeah.
It highlights how strategic communication, that meticulous expectation management we talked about, and leveraging the right tools, maybe even including the choice of brokerage model, as Barnett frequently highlights how all that can truly elevate an agent's business. It really boils down to being a true professional, doesn't it? At every single step.
It really does. And this raises kind of an important question, I think. If consistent empathetic communication and that kind of thorough preparation are the absolute foundations of a successful, low-friction transaction in a complex field like real estate, how might applying those same principles more universally transform other areas of your professional life or even your personal life?
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to guide someone through a complex process with real clarity, genuine care, and that proactive problem-solving mindset, that's a skill set that truly transcends any single industry, doesn't it? It almost always leads to better outcomes and just stronger, more trusting relationships, no matter the context.
That's a really powerful thought to end on. The insights from this deep dive, they really underscore the value of continuously learning, adapting, refining your approach, no matter what field you're in. Remember, the most successful people, they're often the ones who are always looking for that edge, always refining how they do things. Keep digging, keep discovering, and we'll be right here to help you unpack what's most important.